Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This isn't the final part of Spider-Man. Today we're going to do the high poly. This model doesn't have a lot of high poly features, most of it's just details in the drawing, but what we're really going to work on for this video is that curve on his neck and his fingers. So let's start it out in the back over here. We're also going to just add a couple of, edge loops so that the thing doesn't look extremely smooth. So let's start over here. We're going to do what we do and make a bunch of edge loops. So let's, before we get into, detailing everything, let's actually first go into the model and put in the edge loops we need for it. This is just so that, most of the video can take more time in other parts of the model. So let's first go to our first thing here and make edge loops. Okay. This is kind of what I think is standard, making at least 4 edge loops. So this actually looks fine. If you look at the model, it's not so, smooth, and we kind of just hit it kind of better. Oh shoot. Almost done. So that's pretty much mud. What we're gonna do now is head to object mode, and what we're gonna do is kind of move these together. So we're actually gonna bring this up. This model is a lot more different. It's actually a lot more difficult in most senses because it's a flying model, which means, there's so many parts that are in the air. That's actually going to be a lot harder. Next part of the high poly, because those really are the only cues we really need to high poly for now, we're going to get onto this big hand right here. So as we remember from last episode, that hand was on a curve. So let's just set all of these in the right area, just so we have, the correct look. There we go. So really, it's not going to be much of the fingers, more or less it's going to be his palm, which you can't really see because these two fingers are covering it. We'll get to more of that in the rest of the video. So let's first get our edge loop set up here. Let's check. That's good. So what we're going to do here is actually going to be a lot more different than most of the models we've actually done. What we're going to do is not really mess with this, but what we're also going to try is maybe add an extra edge loop in the middle. I'm going to add an extra edge loop there is because you can see how his fingers overlap. So what we're going to do is kind of simple. We're just going to go to object mode, go here, and let's go to our extrude tool. We haven't even used this tool on this series yet. So just pick this up, pick this, and here's how we're going to do it. So what we're going to do is, then that wasn't right. So first step, we're going to go to face, and then we're going to select this face and this face. We're going to go to edit mesh and then extrude. This will allow us to move these pieces out as our fingers. So that's pretty much what we need to do for this part right here. Now comes the tricky part. We need to try to separate, or more or less try to move these shapes out. So let's go back into face mode. And what we're going to do is select all these faces. This is kind of more experimenting because I haven't done this on the channel yet. Select these two and then rotate it downwards. Perfect. That's as far as we're really going to have to try to get. And we can shrink it like this so that his fingers look a lot more realistic. Let's go back to object mode. And there we go. And now if we go this should look as right as we can get it. If we did it any bigger, the entire palm would not look correct. His fingers aren't as bad, but that's fine. And for this backhand. This series, if you guys already noticed right now, is a lot shorter. This is because it's a lot more of a defined model and everything's there already with not a lot of details. So let's get to the back. this hand right here. As you can see in the photo, which I'm not at right now, the hand is a crap ton smaller. So in that sense, the fingers are going to be even smaller. Before we add any edge loops, let's actually go to our attribute modeling toolkit and add some divisions, right about here. Actually, let's head back into object mode, divisions, and let's just kind of redo that part. We're going to redo this part just because, as you can see, it wasn't as smooth as what we have right here. Let's go to edge loops, and we'll actually insert a few more edge loops. If you guys remember last episode, we did delete a lot of the triangles on some of the spheres. This episode we're not going to do it because the reason you'd even do that in the first place is so that it doesn't like crumple up at the top. But as you can see in the knee and everything else, it kind of looks like that through the model's eyes. So we don't really need to do that, but if you want to get a smoother result, always go for it if you want. So we have kind of a smooth side here. Next is we're going to have to hit those fingers. So what we're going to do is go here, hit up vertex mode. This part's actually going to be a lot harder, so I don't think we should go for, doing this. Remember last episode in Donald Duck that didn't go so well. So instead we're just going to go with how we did those fingers before. Take one of these and just basically shrink it down to the size of a pea. This is also kind of a harder model to high poly. Reasons because it has a lot different proportions than, the rest of the models. So really we're kind of looking at it from the point of the photo. And what we're going to do is try to rotate it out and try to set it so that it has, that proportion look in the back. Let's move this down, rotate it, and then move it in. This model is a lot more different than other models we've done before. You can obviously see that it actually is going a lot faster. If you watched already first two parts, those didn't even pass 10 minutes. I'll explain that right now. The reason that these didn't, get as far is because, number one, the model has a lot more defined shapes. If you can see his chest and his legs, one of them is just to say the Donald Duck model. And number two, most of the stuff we're really going to do for the rest of the high poly is more of baseline high poly. So there's not a lot we can really do. Now let's get on to his neck. This part's going to be a lot difficult considering his neck is entrenched into one of the parts of the model. So before we do that, let's go back to how we did our other models. If you're following along, great. Or if you want to, try, you can always, go down comments, try to think of something you might want me to try, so I can try modeling it and you can try understanding how the model works. So since we have some problems here, we're going to just move this cube out, go back to our select, and let's get back to object mode for a second. As you saw, there was kind of a problem there. It was because the thing was hiding in his neck. That's what I meant by how difficult it's going to be. So let's check. Perfect. So now what we got to do is, if you can see on his neck, it's kind of like a curvature that's like connecting it to the part. So what we're really going to do is a lot easier than a lot of other models we've done. So let's go to vertex, pick up this side of the head. What we're going to do with this part of the head, or actually the neck, is we're going to select them all, and it's going to be that we're just going to move them out like this. If we constantly check, this actually looks a lot more stable. I'm even surprised by myself. I didn't know this oh no. I think we hit a problem. Yeah, we kind of did. So I think what we need to do is go through it one by one and try it there. So we can move this part out, this part in the same way. Let's move these down so that they match up. And what we're trying to aim for now is not like the entire model as itself. We're just aiming to hit, the style that he was going for, or the artist was in the model. we're going to do is do this, move them down, kind of just try it. What we're trying to do is kind of angle it. Now, if we move it, let's try to just angle it, because the model actually does look a lot better here. So just angle it out like this. Let's move this up a bit so that you can't see this part. And we kind of have hit what we were looking for in that margin. This part, we'll just do something quick to fix it. Let's bring up a cube and do something to kind of like fill it in. So we're going to bring this, and basically what we're going to do is just fill it. So let's grab a cube. It's all the way back here. For some reason the cube is all the way in the back. So what we're really going to have is just a filled cube area. So let's bring this down, kind of just nestle it in there, and then we can extend it to our heart's content. By the way, next week, I was going to mention this at the end of the video, but next week's model is going to be a unicorn. I did try to like put out something, but I don't have a community tab. So as you can see, we got this done a lot faster, and it's different, you know, it feels odd, and it's extremely different that we're, you know, getting this model done faster, considering it's a model with less detail. You might think, oh, it has a lot more detail, but when you look at the model, it really doesn't. The reason? It's because most of them are line designs, and you can't really do much with a line design considering everything's built around these. What's really left we're going to do is maybe use some sphere sweat, some of those like shoulder muscles that he has. So that's not that big of a deal. We're just going to take one here and kind of just try to nestle it into his shoulder. As you can see in the photo, it does actually kind of just show off there. So it's really just going to be like that. Then we can just take this one, and as you can see, there's a smaller one. So we're really just going to do shrink it and kind of put it in the same idea, but we're actually going to make it a lot smaller. Now you might be wondering why everything is becoming a lot smaller. If you haven't caught up, you can see that everything kind of has a weird perspective. So what we're trying to hit is that perspective margin. So yeah, that's really just what we're going to do for the end of this Spider-Man model. A lot of the details can't really be done by modeling, more or less it's just done by drawing and design. So I'm pretty sure that's it for Spider-Man this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next week will be a unicorn. Comment down below what I should do after that week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment, and bye.